Hello, my friends. Excited to have Teezio on today. For those of you that haven't seen these before, just talk for an hour here and take some questions, and then all this stuff will be up in podcast form tomorrow, live with Matt Rad on Spotify and Apple and all of that, and then on the YouTube channel as well. And then we have clips over on LiveWithMattRad.com. Also, clips over on the Instagram Live with Matt Rad, and we'll also have show notes up on LiveWithMattRad.com. So if you want to go through the stuff Teezio and I talk about, there'll be some detailed notes from Bradley, who I just saw joined right now. All right, let me grab Teezio. How you guys doing today?
Yeah.
Hey, what's up, buddy? How you doing?
What's good? How are you?
I'm good, man. You know, you and I talked in the last couple of days. I've had my buddy Bobby Bracken's at the house here, and we've been working late nights. So I got that low voice. Maybe I should cut some vocals after this.
Oh shit! Is Bobby still there?
Nah, he just left. He just left. Okay. But he was here the last couple of days. Yeah, he said he knows you from back in the day.
Back in the day, man. Jeez, working real long.
How you doing, man? How's the studio build? I know that the first time you came on, we were talking with Baines and talking about that Chris Brown record a minute, the Go Crazy Slime and B record. You're in the midst of building your studio. Are you still in that process?
I'm still in the process. I'm still at my old studio, and then I have the new studio being built. The only problem is like I can't get the studio up unless I have the painting inside of the room done so that John Hunter can come and put the panels up. But the problem with that is that I need my studio door. I'm getting one of those like studio doors with the window that's like a real studio door essentially.
Yeah.
And that I can't get painting done until the door is done because they have to change the jam. They have to change like the frame on the door, which is going to fuck up the paint. So it's just like one thing behind another. It never fucking ends.
Well, so talk to me about that process, because I've built a lot of studios in like a makeshift way in a house, but what up, Alex Dume? What's good?
Alex.
Yeah, I hung out with him a bunch in New York. What a good dude. Yeah. So I've never done the full in my house building from scratch. Like you're basically going full on out and building in your new spot. No.
The only thing that's like fixed in is like the doors. That's gonna have the new frames. That's gonna be fixed in. The panels will be like I have here, where they're just kind of like off the wall.
Okay.
To be honest, I've worked for so long in studios for all of my life, pretty much I would say since I can remember, his major studios. And I've kind of gotten out of that phase. Like I don't like dark, dim, no window rooms. I also don't like when the build out is like all the way to like everything. I want it to be like you. Like right now you have like a vibe going, right?
Yeah.
Like there's studio stuff in there, but it's like you're still in a house, you're still in your vibing. And that's kind of how it is for me. Like I don't want to feel like I'm going into a studio. I want to feel like I'm in like a fun room or something like that, where it's just like,
yeah,
I'm not really with the build outs. Not to say that in the future, when I get my forever house, I may do some sort of extra build out for I might make thicker walls or something like that. But I'm really down with like the fresh, organic home vibe. Like I love it.
Yeah. Well, talk to me about that too, because I feel like back in the day, before everybody was just making records in homes, when I was coming up, everybody had this idea of coveting the like fancy studio and everything sounds a certain way. And then I would always go in there and I feel like so many of them didn't sound very good. And it was like the vibe was weird. Maybe they're just set up for something different. Do you feel like records getting made, at least the records you're working on, do you get better stuff out of working in a house, out of working in a hotel room, out of working in a why not just build a crazy studio? Why do you like the more vibe house environment better? Why is that better for artists?
Well, part of it is the fact that, and not to take away from studios, because obviously they have to have techs on hand and stuff is breaking constantly because there's tons of clients, blah, blah, blah. The problem is when I get in, even if I was working there the night before and someone went in before I came in the next day, shit's different sometimes. Shit got fucked up last night and I had already left. Whatever, I come back, this doesn't work. That doesn't work. The microphone, they've got it at the other studio. We need to bring it. Sometimes it gets like that, which it's not too big of a deal. But then also just the vibe, whole thing. Like for me, I like to be with my shoes off in my house, like just organic. Picture like the most organic thing You know what I mean? Studios also with this COVID thing for me has become like, you know, there's a lot of people that roll through studios. There's sometimes there could be 30 people inside of a session. You know what I mean? And so it kind of gives me that like feeling now, especially since we've gone through COVID. Like, I don't want to be in a, did they clean it all? Like, did they clean, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of people in there smoking, coughing, girls in and out. Like, there's a lot of stuff happening, you know, in studios. And it's just gotten to that point. Now, I'm not going to lie. Back in the day, that was the goal. If I could get a day at Chalice and work there all day and be in this big room, like that was the goal. Oh, runners, I need food. Now we have Postmates. We have, you know, I have an assistant now, but like you have Postmates, you have Uber. It's like back then that was coveted for sure. Like you had to be at one studio I won't complain about is Conway though. That one, that studio has the mix of organic, homey vibe while being at the studio at the same time. And the main thing is all the studios have windows. There's not really any studios that have windows. Like when you're in there and it's daytime, it's fucking beautiful. You're looking over the console and you just see green with the sunlight and the palm trees in like the little Hawaii little backyard.
Yeah, because they got the garden going on in between the studios and everything.
That's the only time where I'm like, shit, I'll work at Conway. You know what I mean? Because I'm gonna feel like I'm at home when I'm there.
That's interesting. Yeah, I did a writing camp there once years ago, and it was the only time I've been there, and it was amazing. And I see why so many people like being there. But it does have that thing where it feels like it's your own little like like writing camp. Like you got
almost as if like you're in Hawaii. You're in Hawaii on vacation, and that's your little cabana. Because there's 3 studios, right? So like Pharrell might be in the other room, and then we're in this room, and then you know Chris might run over to Pharrell's room, and then I go over there. We cut some vocals. We come like it's really cool. It's a total vibe for sure.
That's amazing.
Like other studios like Paramount, they're more like nitty gritty. Like you know what I'm saying? And nothing against them because I love Paramount. I love the owners, Adam, like fire. So
you're basically going to be full on in your own spot. That's the idea.
That's the idea. I mean, the only people I'm cutting vocals for is Chris.
Yeah.
I'll only cut his vocals just because he's probably the only person I'm willing to put up with anymore.
Well, you guys have a long relationship and have done so many records together. And that's funny. I was going back through some of his discography, and I forgot that he just had like multiple double albums. Which I imagine somebody asked a question about that too. I want to just give him a little shout out. It was Jesse asking about the Indigo album. Those albums that have like, including the deluxe edition, like 40 or 50 tracks.
Yep.
Are you recording 100 records for that get cut down? Is it more? Is it even more? Tell me about that process. Is it a vision of like Chris is like, I'm doing a double album. We're going to just record a million things. Or are you guys just in the mode and then you decide later? How does that process happen?
Well, I feel like he's always wanted to do a double album. Obviously, just as a generality, most artists, when they first, you know, start working or get signed to a label or whatever, they don't really have the ability. And this is generally, they don't have the ability to be like, oh, I want to do a double album. I want to do a triple album. Like, they don't have that. The label's mostly in control. Chris is at a point in his career where, like, he can tell the label, hey, I'm doing a double album. This is the album. Here's the release date. Here's the artwork. Let's go. He's one of the only artists that can do that. And I think for him, the reason for doing it is wanting the fans to have as much music of his as possible. Because when he records, I think for Heartbreak, we did 250 songs. So we had 250 songs on the table, essentially, to be able to choose from, to get down to, it was 57 in the end. By the time we did the thing, the deluxe.
So that ends up being a little more than 1 in 5 records make it out of the shit that you cut. Because if you're cutting 250 and you get 57, that's a lot of records. And are you fully, at that point, are you mostly mixing all the stuff too? So are you mixing all those records, or they get cut and they're rough mixes? Like, I'm so curious, like step by step in that process.
When we cut, it's as rough as it gets. It's as rough as it gets. It's going to be, it's like, for Chain, for example, like a lot of people think like Chris's Chain, like, well, his Chain when I'm mixing is obviously a chain, but when I'm recording and we're doing like the rough mix that then he may be playing to other people and blah, 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 whatever. Those mixes are super rough. There's literally one Pro Q with a cut at like 100 or 80, and then a boost from like 5 to like 6, 7K up, just a little bell, just a little top end.
That tracking setup. Just get rid of a little low end, add a little high end, put a little sauce on it.
People don't know, like most artists, like you think of other artists that have a lot of stuff on their vocal. When you take all that off, you almost sometimes don't recognize the person sometimes. Yeah. Chris is Chris. Like,
Yeah,
if he was singing fucking with no reverb and no delay, and no auto-tune, you'd still know it was him.
Yeah.
It's because he is the sound. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, and to me, I feel like sometimes it's a blue pill, because sometimes I'll listen to a demo and be like, it's cool. But then you listen to it with Chris's voice and you're like, now it's fire. You know what I mean? And part of that is because he's been a part of music and culture for so long that when you hear his voice, you automatically have a connection to it.
Yeah.
Dating back to when he first, you know what I'm saying? Like, you have that connection for now 15 years knowing his voice. When you hear it, it means something now. You know what I mean?
You've got both. You've got two things going. One, which is, you're right, like a track record, like all the way back to when he's 16 and having hits. Like, he's a part of the sound of contemporary music, and his voice is special. And that's something that, you know, I don't know, big A&Rs talk about, producers talk about. There really is a difference between a great singer and then that like iconic singer. Like,
that's 100%.
You know, Chris has definitely got that thing, and that's something that, as I get older and make more records, I'm more and more interested in somebody who sings and I just go, oh, that's that person, like recognizable. And he's got both technical skill and that, which is phenomenal. So do you guys actually, I'm sure people want to know this, and we'll make a clip out of it. Do you want to go through the tracking, the vocal chain for tracking for Chris? Cause I'm sure, you know, like you said, Chris is going to sound like Chris no matter what, but very curious what your setup is and what you found really matches his voice, complements his voice well.
So I'll give you what the chain was before.
Okay.
That way you have an idea of what I changed over time. And I changed it slowly because I didn't want to just be like, hey, I'm the new fucking engineer. This is the chain you're going to use. Because when I came into work, anytime I come into working with someone that I'm new with, I always tone myself down in a way where I'm learning, because I need to know how this person works before I can step in and start saying, you know, you got to do this, you got to do that.
The collaboration has to evolve, for sure.
It has to evolve, and it has to be done in a way where, as I'm gaining trust with him and he's gaining trust with me, things start to evolve. You don't just come in on day one and change the game, especially on someone like Chris, who's been doing this for so fucking long.
And when did you, sorry, let's slow it down even more. When did you start working with him full time?
So I started working with him full time in 2016.
Okay, so you have 5 years in.
So I'm about to be 5 years in well, shit, it's May now. Okay, look, this is funny because May marks the 5-year anniversary from when I got a call from Brian Springer.
Okay.
Chris was still on tour in May in 16. He was like in Europe. So I didn't actually get in the room with him until like July, end of July. So I had about a month and a half to essentially mentally prep myself to take on this new client. But yeah, so in July, it'll be officially the 5-year running with Chris. So it's been a long time coming, and we've definitely grown so much together. Our relationship has gotten very strong, like to the point where, like, you know, back then there would be, especially because someone else was mixing it, but there'd be notes and all this stuff. Now it's to the point where, like, when I mix something, the note that I might get is like, can you turn this vocal up? Oh, can you just...
You guys are dialed. It's
dialed in to the point where, like, every record is the same. It's all good. You know what I mean? And that's how you want to have it, because, as you know, when mixing and stuff like that, by the time you're getting to mix 10, mix 12, mix 20, people are starting to get frustrated.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So that's one thing you want to avoid. Not to say that doesn't happen, because at the end of the day, if it takes mix 20 to get a record to where everyone's happy, I don't give a fuck. I just
whatever it takes.
I'm not going to mention the record. If Baines is in here, he'll know which record it is. But I got to mix. Okay, there was sub mixes, so it was like 12.1. It was like mix 1, right, all the way to mix 14. But within those mixes, there was mix 12.1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There was mixes 8.2, 0.3, 0.4. There was sub mixes all within.
Yeah.
And they weren't turn up this vocal, turn down this vocal. It was, okay, for this version, I want this verse to go first, this verse to go at the end. Okay, now for this other version, this part needs to go here. Cut all the hooks in half. It was like, I was going crazy, bro. I was like, really? Really?
Well, when this song comes out, you'll have to tell everybody. We'll mark it on this, because I know it's a new record. Well, so and it's funny it's always good to communicate this to young record makers. Like, you know, it's great to tell the story of the thing that happened in 5 minutes, but there's a lot of records that might go through mix revision 25. And the fact that you have such a history with him, and you've been doing vocal engineering stuff, you're actually doing editing in the mixing process, and all of that. You just do whatever it takes to make it great, because in the end, when the record comes out and the record's a hit, people forget about what it took to get there, and you just
they don't know what it took to get there. I mean, someone listening to it doesn't know that it took you to this mix, you know. And if you come, they're not gonna care. You know what I mean? Like, it's out, it's good, we're happy. It's just what it takes. The other day, someone's like, "Oh, I need to do mix revisions, but just let me know what it's gonna cost." I was like, to be honest, like, when you're happy, the mix is done. I'm happy where I have it. That's why I'm sending it to you. And then the mix is done when you're happy with it. I don't do all that extra shit, because if you start to try to charge people for the fixes, they'll get to the point where they're gonna not want to spend the money and just be a little bit unhappy.
Yeah, they have to then make a creative compromise at the end of the process to say, exactly, do I want to spend more money even though I want to do this other thing?
Or can I just leave it and be not fully content, but I just won't come back to him after this?
You know, there are definitely mix engineers that charge per revision, and I don't want to name names and call anybody out, because some of them I've worked with, but like, I can't do that, man. Like, it's got to be, you hire me and we're going to take it to the end. And look, if it's crazy and it takes too long and somebody's a pain, I just won't work with them again. But I'm at least going to complete that project.
You complete that one thing and you just don't answer the phone again. It's fine. I mean, you're busy. Fuck.
Because what are we trying to do other than make the best possible record? Like, why at the end of the process would be like, nah, you need to throw me another $250 if you want me to do another one. No. Like, what are we doing?
It's such a fucking, because you know that you're putting people in positions. If it's a label, they might be cool with it, but you're putting people in positions, because you got to think about it. A lot of these people that are independent, they don't have $100,000, $200,000 just stacked up ready to dump. They're just working, and they're taking the money and they're trying to pay for mixes. So you're causing them to compromise, and they're just not going to work with you. Then they blow up next year, and they're definitely not working with you anymore.
Definitely not.
No, they're taking it somewhere else, to a more expensive mixer.
Yep, absolutely. And yeah, that's interesting. So, okay, so let's go back to it. So 5 years ago, you link up with Chris, and he's had an engineer at that point for a long time.
For a long time. His name was Brian Springer. God bless his soul, because he did, I think he did like 10 years.
Wow, that's a long time. We were talking about it with Bangs last time, and the Young Thug crew, and how much commitment that is to an active artist. And Chris is, like you said, just one artist. He doesn't have a whole label family that you're working on too, but he's still working all the time. And if you're cutting, like, you're making an album, you cut 250 songs, you're really in there. 10 years is a long time. So he was ready to move on to the next thing, and he found you, and you got in there. And what happened?
Yeah, so basically, Josh Goodwin, who's a close friend of mine, Brian tried to find Chris an engineer for a while. They couldn't get someone that stuck, that was like vibing with Chris. So he finally just called Josh Goodwin. He's like, all right, I know you work with Bieber. You have to know some engineers that can work with Chris. So at the time, I was working with Josh on some stuff where I was giving him files for him to mix. And he's like, I know this guy who's really fast. He does a lot of good vocal editing, blah, blah, blah. So he gave him my number without even telling me, which... that I'm gonna let it slide. I'm cool. If Josh gives my number to someone, I know it's important. So there's certain things that like if someone FaceTimes you and it's someone you got to answer it.
Yeah.
Someone gives your number away, it's for good reason.
Yeah.
Like that. So he gave him my number. I just get a random text from him. I probably still have the text in my phone, which I will print out and frame. But it's this long ass text from him, like, I want you to do this. You were recommended by Josh, blah blah blah. I literally told him, I was like, I don't know, because I'd been working at Record Plant, and I was like, I don't know if I want to do it. It's a lot of partying, a lot of, all-nighters, whatever.
You're thinking about going into Chris World and knowing that it's a very different thing than working for a studio.
Yeah, I actually never worked for a studio in my life. I've always worked independently.
Okay.
But I knew, working out of Record Plant, like, because I would have other clients, right? Whoever, writers, label stuff, and I would see Chris's sessions, because he would always work in the room on the left. They're named weird. It's like the room 4 or room 1 is like in the back. They're not named in order. So it's the first room on the left. He would always work in that room. That was his room. And so I would always see it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. They would just be getting to the studio, like, or coming back from the club. And that's another thing too. This was 5 years ago, 6 years ago. As people get older, they start to, not do that stuff. The sessions are a lot more chill now.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to do the sessions back then. And then my wife's like, no, you got to take this opportunity. At least do it. If you don't like it, you don't have to stay.
Shout out to your wife for telling you to.
Yeah, I know. Shout out to her. So I did it. And then it obviously changed my life for sure. So I really, am completely appreciative of her.
Well, I want to touch on one thing. I can't remember if you said it, we were talking on the phone or what, but why do you think it is that Josh recommended you? Because you were sending things to him. Was your like Pro Tools game good based on the sessions you sent? Like what? Because people are always asking, how do I get my break? How do I do what I do? And I think people misunderstand what you really need to do to get your break. It's not finding the break. It's doing great work.
Yes, and the break follows. Yeah. No, I wasn't at the time. I was working with an artist who had no money issues, someone that's independent, whatever. And so the guy obviously had so much money that he was willing to pay Josh to mix the entire album at the time. And that's how I met Josh. Now, the recording process was a very difficult one with this artist. I would literally have to punch. Like, I would literally have to have him just be like, because over and over, chop, the,
You're taking like word by word comps.
Every syllable, chopping it up to the point where it was seamless. Because, like I told you, when I was working with Juicy, back in the day with Juicy J, it was like sampling. That's where he kind of got me on with sampling. He would take records out of, well, I don't know if I mentioned it to you, I just did an interview, but basically he had all these discs, all these records in his closet that were warped in the heat, whatever. He would put them on the thing, record into Pro Tools and be like, line it all up so I can make a beat over it.
Oh, wow.
So I spent countless hours for years.
So I didn't know you were Juicy J's engineer for a minute, too.
Yeah, so basically when I got out of high school, I was interning in high school.
Tell the story.
Okay. I was interning at a record label in high school called YMA Music. They had a band called From First to Last signed to them.
Yeah.
From First to Last is Skrillex.
That's Sonny, yeah.
His name is Sonny.
At 15.
So I knew Sonny when I was 15 years old, working there. Now, years later, I work with this artist named CL from Korea, and producing her is Sonny. So when I tell him the story, I was like, bro, I was interning, getting you guys food, running to the mail place to drop off mail and shit for you guys. You know what I'm saying? He's like, what? And Sonny is such a nice guy. He's like, oh my God. He stopped the session. He's like, this guy, all this shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was such a great thing. But anyway,
shout out Sonny, shout out Skrillex, one of the nicest guys in the music industry.
Nicest guy ever for being who Skrillex is and what he's done for music.
Yeah.
And so anyway, super nice guy. I was working there when I was 15, 16 years old. And then by the time I got out of high school, I went to engineering school. And 3 months into engineering school, I had been networking. Facebook at the time there was no Instagram. It was just Facebook. And there was this guy that I met there, and his name is Kenneth Townsend, which I think he's actually in this chat, if I'm not mistaken. I saw him earlier. But his name is Kenneth Townsend, and he was an amazing musician with a couple of other guys, Stanley Randolph and this guy William Wesson, and they basically are the ones who played on the Hustle and Flow record from the Oscars that they won.
Right.
So those guys are the real ones behind the song at the time. And that's why they were working with Juicy, blah, blah. So they're like, yo, this guy Jordan, you know, he needs a new engineer. So I'm like, okay, Jordan, I was fresh. I'll take any job I can. So I go to this fucking mansion and I'm like, Jordan. So I go up and then fucking I see the Oscar, I see the Grammy, I see the fucking plaques everywhere. I'm like, oh, stay fly. Got it. Because I'm from California, like LA. Like, I don't really know about real 3-6 Mafia shit back then.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, then I was introduced to the whole world. I mean, of the whole world of 3-6 Mafia.
Yeah, that's a whole world, too.
Juicy.
That's
he
legendary
told me the craziest stories. He told me he wrote Slob on My Knob in 11th grade in his English class. Like, he told me...
It sounds like an 11th grade lyric. I like it.
It's an 11th...
It's a classic.
But those guys, so they kind of put me on in the sense, like, I did all the mixtapes for Juicy, from Play Me Some Pimpin' to Blue Dream and Lean, the stuff with fucking a couple producers, I can't even think of it right now, but a bunch of shit. And from there, I went on to do other stuff. But at the time, it seemed so meager. It was like mixtapes, you know, not knowing that these mixtapes created the foundation for what hip hop is today. Like, we were doing stuff with DJ Holiday, DJ Smalls, fucking DJ Drama. These guys were the ones that laid the foundation for what hip hop is today. You know what I mean?
They're creating the culture, man. Like, that space, especially to me, the big mixtape era for me, we're just a total aside now. We're just going off. The mixtape era for me is that, like, late 2000s, Lil Wayne, Drought 3. Like, that's like those 2000s era.
I started working with Juicy in 2008, 2009.
Yep. That's the era. That's the mixtape era of hip hop.
And what's crazy is Project Pat. So check this out. Project Pat was in the South, and Juicy was living here in LA. That's how I was working with him. Project Pat's like, Juice, what you got to do is you got to put music out for free, and then you just got to tour and get all that money. He's like, I'm not putting music out for free. He's like, I got to pay the writers, the producers, the engineer, the mortgage on the house. He's like, I'm not doing that shit. Finally, his brother convinces him to do mixtapes and give them out for free, which is so difficult from someone. You got to think about it. Juicy J and them were so fucking rich in the 90s. They would crash a Range Rover and get out and get picked up and buy another one the next day. Their publishing check, their royalty checks were hundreds of $1,000s a month.
Crazy.
In the 90s.
Crazy.
Imagine in 1997 getting $250 a month.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean? Like, this shit was crazy.
So he started doing mixtapes, and you were the architect and
I was the engineer.
You're like the engineer.
I was fucking shit up. I was losing sessions. I was not recording vocals. I was fucking everything up. I was a terrible engineer. But Juicy believed in me. He believed in me. He wanted someone from scratch. He didn't want to deal with someone who had an attitude, who felt like they were doing bigger stuff than what, you know what I'm saying? And I understand it because look what I'm doing now. So he really believed in me and saw something that I didn't even see in myself.
Well, this is in that the collaboration mentality that you're talking about. So when you get together with Chris in 2016, he already has a guy that's been his engineer for a decade, and so presumably he has a setup, he has a flow. How does that develop with you guys? You said we started this by talking about vocal chain, which we'll get to, but like he has a flow, he has a timing, he's at the studio at a certain time. Do you basically just try to go in and go, I'm just going to be completely on his schedule, on his flow, and then we'll evolve from there? What happened with that?
So basically I got the template, and the template laid the foundation for how he needs to record.
This is like the actual Pro Tools session of the way he records everything. I got a blank session.
It's just a blank session. What I did was I simplified it, because what Brian had, and again, everyone has their own method. I needed something very simple in front of me, because when you're dealing with, it's time to go. There's not a lot of time.
We talk about all the time, workflow.
Work go. Perfect. So I simplified he had like every different lead had its own bus, and every background group had its own bus. It became very packed. So I dulled it down. I made one lead bus, one background bus. One reverb bus, one delay bus. I added a couple of throw delay buses that weren't in use, just to have in case it's like, oh, I'll do a delay there or whatever. And then the color scheme. To me, the color scheme is everything, because it's how I'm able to identify where I am in the session without reading anything. Especially in the mix session, like, because with recording, it's one thing, but with mixing is another thing. Like, you got all the track, you have now the entire beat track out. You don't just have a 2-track.
Yep.
It's a lot easier said when it's a fucking 2-track and then just vocals. So you have all this music and everything is color-coded, always the same. I can go around the session without reading anything and know exactly where I'm at, know exactly what... The kick is always... You know what I'm saying? It's always here. It's always here. Then it goes to snares, then hi-hats, then percussion. It's always the same order. That consistency is what allows me to know where I'm at. Same with... And it's really more important in recording, because while you're mixing, no one's on your ass. When you're recording, you need to know exactly where you're at any moment of the time, because you will get cussed out. So color coding and organization is everything. People ask me for a template. I'm like, the template isn't a sound. The sound is you. The template is how you get there. It's the best map ever.
It's funny how, you know, I'm having more of these conversations, talking to Baines, talking to John, talking to Donut, talking to other people. Everybody always wants to know, like, what's the sound and we'll get to some of the gear and all that, but more than anything, it's organization and preparation.
That's like the sound is you could put it on. You could put it on after, but once you cut that record, if you fuck up, you're fucking their vibe up. If they're writing the song, oh, that's even worse, because you're throwing them way off. It's different when they're recutting something that's already there. The writing's already there. The melodies are there already. So if you fuck with their vibe, you're just fucking with the takes they're giving you. But when they're writing the song in the moment, oh, you got to be on. Because if
like
they lose that idea,
start doing this just like the ideas. Yep, exactly.
Their ideas are coming out and they're blaming you. You've made me fuck up, bro. Where's another engineer? Can someone I've heard it a million times.
Yep. Yeah, being prepared and being able to work quickly is really what separates the guys that are the pros, because everybody has the same, you know, digital audio workstation. Not everybody has all the same gear and the mics, but you can get pretty close, and it's really about how well you work in the room with people and how much the flow can be synchronized between the artist and the engineer and the producer and everybody like that.
For sure. I think the flow in the room too, like being able to like blend in a way where you're like a part of everything that's happening. I've seen some engineers where you walk in the room and they stick out like a sore thumb. Everyone's in there like this, and the engineer's just like frozen, like doesn't know whether to bop his head or he's about to get cussed out again or some shit. So like part of it is confidence. You know, it's not about how you dress or how you look. It's about confidence.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you walk in the room confident, hey, I got the mic up, compressor, everything's lit, boom, everything's good. They're going to be like, wow, this guy knows what he's doing. He's communicating to me that he's ready. He's not just sitting there waiting for someone to tell him to do something.
And the truth is, a big part of that is, you know, no shortcuts. Like, you got to just put the time in. You got to be comfortable doing it yourself. And that,
Yeah,
you know, the artists that know, they can feel it.
Yeah, they can. Oh, it's a feel. I mean, they're artists. They're creatives. Yeah, everything is based off feeling. When I'm choosing plugins, I'm not like, oh my God, this needs a neutron. I'm like, am I feeling like a neutron on it? Am I feeling like this? It's a feeling thing, you know? Music isn't rocket science. For that, shit, go talk to Elon.
Yeah.
This is fucking music. It's fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely, man. So you get in there, you adjust the template, you simplify it a little bit.
Yep.
What's the chain at that point? What's the technical setup that he's using at the time?
The chain is a 251 going into a 1073, going into an Avalon 737, just the compressor.
Okay.
And then going into Pro Tools direct. No console. I'm not that guy. Oh, with the vocal, with the face. I'm not that guy. Everything goes direct to Pro Tools. I don't want nothing touching the console.
Yep.
Someone might spill some shit, sit on it, ash on it. It's a hip hop set. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, shit happens. So I have to have everything locked in, direct. Nothing can. If someone fucking breaks the console, I'm still recording. Or no, fuck. Not the center section. Then I won't hear anything. But fuck. You know what I mean? It's like,
I know what you mean.
I don't want anyone to mess with anything. So it's all locked in. That's the thing. At the time, I still had the template where I hadn't simplified it. I had just changed the color coding because I needed my color coding.
Yeah.
As time went on, I started to little by little take shit apart and be like, okay, it still sounds the same. Okay, it still sounds the same. We're good. And that's what happened little by little, up to the point where now I have this is standard Chris Brown template. This is how I record. When I leave Chris in the future, someone else will inherit this template. They may edit it, and they may, you know what I'm saying? Like it's the passing.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I imagine, you know, I don't know what Chris's Pro Tools fluency is, but I imagine that, you know, that template is a collaboration basically between you and him over the years, that you adjust things to the way he likes to work. Do you take that same template? I mean, you're not doing tracking for many other artists, although I'm sure you have, because now you're doing full on mixing, which we'll get to. But have you used that same template and those same things with other artists or other artists? Yeah.
It's just a map.
Yeah.
It's not like, okay, let's say, for example, this doesn't happen. Let's say Chris used CLA on every vocal and the template was CLA everywhere. Then I would probably not be able to use that template on everyone, right? But because his template is the simplest thing, when I pull up that template for someone else and I notice, oh, there's too much low end in their vocal, I just go to that EQ on the lead and just move it.
Yep.
And I adjust little by little to the artist. I may be working with a female. Let me bring that bell down a little bit because there's too much top end.
Yeah.
You know, I make those small adjustments, but I use the same exact template for everyone only because it's only a map. That's all it is. It's my leads. I have verse lead, because they stagger when vocals overlap. Then I have pre-lead, hook lead, 2 ad-lib tracks, my recording tracks, and then below that, all the backgrounds. And that's the same thing every time.
That's a great template right there. I might take some things from that.
I'm a simple guy. You know me, I'm about to go to my tiny desk. I call it the tiny desk gang. TDG. I got this big bulky motherfucker right now.
So let's talk about that real quick and we can come back to gear. So you're getting rid of the desk as much as possible.
I'm getting rid of my Argosy. I'll probably sell it. I'm also having to get rid of a couple of my 4-inch panels, which I'll probably put on Instagram for sale. Just because I need to downgrade to thinner panels, like 3-inch and 2-inch. And I have 15 panels in this room because I have a hallway that goes up right there. So there's panels that go up the hallway. So I'm going to have a surplus of panels. But the new studio is essentially Sterling rack. You know that little rolling one that just sits to the side on the ground?
I have an idea of what that is. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just a rolling rack on the ground. So I have that, and then I have this rack.
Yeah, and you can see I got similar vibe right behind me there.
The foamed out ones.
Yep.
So I have those 2 racks now. This will be gone. And I'm going to have one of those tiny desks from like Wayfair with the screen. I'm going to have all the wires hidden. I got the Anchor monitor stands, those really good ones that are like heavy duty. Boom, 2 PMCs, got the 10-inch sub, rocking.
Which PMCs are you using?
I have the 226s.
226s plus a sub.
Plus the 10-inch sub, which I think is called the 2 sub.
So can you speak on why you're getting rid of a desk? I mean, it gets talked about a lot, but why are you getting rid of it?
Particularly because the room that I'm going to is longer, but a little narrower. And this room and this desk in this room fits nicely because I have space on both sides. But it's going to be slightly narrower, and I'm actually going to have floor-to-ceiling windows in front of the desk, which will be treated. I'm getting ST35 windows.
What is that?
Those are windows that it's double pane, but one pane is thicker than the other one. So when the sound travels through it, it breaks the wave down, and it actually stops the sound a lot more than standard windows are ST24, ST26. So this is like 10 more. But they use laminate as well on the glass.
So this is the perfect time to plug the show notes. Bradley, who's a longtime listener and helps out on the Discord, shout out the Discord gang. He's taking show notes on all these. So if you guys listen this tomorrow on YouTube or the podcast version, all these technical notes will get written down and they'll be on LiveWithMattRad.com. So definitely check those out. Yeah, the air gapped windows so it's air gapped windows with slightly different pane, and that will basically break up the sound.
When one sound wave hits it on one in the space, it does this, and then when it hits the other window, that cancels it out. It cancels out the frequency. I'm obviously not a window expert, but this is what I've learned over dealing with windows for 3 weeks now.
It's window talk with Matt Rad and Teezio right here.
I've probably watched like 13 videos on YouTube all about windows.
That's amazing. And
so I'm building the new room, right, with the smaller desk. PMCs, boom, super clean, floor-to-ceiling windows. The one panel in between the speakers like that will be mounted to the 2x4 that's in the center of the window. I'm going to have the corner slots and everything. It's going to be fire.
That's amazing, man.
It has to be vibey. Like
absolutely.
Vibey.
Well, yeah, and we talked about that a lot before, too. It's like you got to get in an environment and have everybody participating want to make great shit. Like you want the artist to come in and be like, I'm excited to be here. Like all my studios in the last really maybe ever, but especially in the last like 5 or 10 years have been, I want people to come here and go, oh, well, fuck, I want to make shit. Like that's
right. Oh, yeah,
that's what you want more than anything else.
The vibe of though, when I see your studio, I'm like, shit, I want to play that keyboard back there.
yeah, man, yeah. And you got to come over here. I know you.
I definitely got to
talk about getting together. I don't know if he's. I think he's in LA again, but he's going back out to Atlanta.
But about to leave, but we'll do a barbecue at your spot.
Yeah,
and then we'll play bocce at my spot.
Yeah, man, you're on your bocce like old man cigar.
I'm on my old
shit.
man
I love
shit.
It. That's amazing. All right, let's go back because I know people want the vocal check. So you started out and it was 251, 1073 Avalon compressor was the original one, and then what is it now? How did it get there? What are you using?
I changed was the tube tech. The tube. I wanted the tube tech instead, just because I like the sound of the tube tech, and it's a lot more. It's really easy to use. The Avalon was complicated. There's little tiny writing everywhere. I need something that, like, when I look at this CL1B from a distance, I can see everything, and it sounds fire. So that's the thing about hardware and plugins. Like, if it's a plugin that has 18 million buttons everywhere, I'm already stressed enough trying to get this shit to sound better than the demo. You got me trying to learn all these buttons. Like, fuck that. I'm going somewhere else. And that's part of why a lot of the isotope is so easy to use, is because it's kind of like intuitive. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the isotope stuff is great. So you basically swapped out the CO1B or the Avalon for the CO1B, and so it's still 251. Is it a vintage 251? Is it one particular mic, or are you guys swapping around?
So we used to rent a microphone when he was not working out of his house. It was. I mean, a lot of times it was the same microphone because there's only like 3 vintage ones at Capitol at the time, but it would probably be a different vintage one, but we'd always rent a vintage mic. Then when he got his studio, I called, what's it called? I called fucking, fucking Telefunken, sorry.
Yeah, you're all good.
Telefunken, and I told him, I said, Chris needs a microphone. Can you guys get over a microphone for him? So they just made him a microphone and sent it over. I wasn't really tripping on the vintage because, like, to me, it was like, it wasn't make or break. And also I'd have to go talk to Chris and be like, so do you want to spend double?
That's
You know
true.
what I
And the
mean?
vintage ones vary as well. Those capsules are very, very finicky and can get old. So with the vintage 251s, you definitely need to find a new one. I'm borrowing a friend of mine's right now because I have my vintage 47, which sounds great, but been borrowing his 251, and it is a new one. But I guess Telefunken can make adjustments and make it sound more or less like a vintage one. I don't know about all
I
the
explained to
mods.
them. I explained to them the situation that we were in, and so they kind of understood. So I'm assuming they did something for us. This was years ago now. This is probably 3 or 4 years ago that we had the studio built. He basically just took the theater out of his house.
So have you done?
Studio.
Yeah. Have you done any of the shootouts with like a C800? Because C800 is always the thing that everybody's talking about using, but it's going to be probably brighter and a little harsher than the 251. Did you play with that at all? I love a 251. I think 251 is the best.
I love a
vocal mic.
C800 too, but I feel like with the C800, I get a little bit more abrasive. I mean, yeah, with the C800, I get more abrasiveness on Chris's voice, just a little bit, and it's not something that can't be dealt with later, obviously. But in that case, I might as well just use a 251. If I ended up with a C800 for some reason one day, it's not going to make or break my day. It's just going to cause me to have a little extra work on the back end. But
yes, a different 5-figure tube mic is not going to hurt your day. It's just going to be different.
yeah, it's just going to be. It's not going to kill me though. Like I'll figure it out. Now, if we're talking about an 87 on Chris's voice, yeah, I'm probably going to be like, bro, we should probably record on a fucking 251. You know what I'm saying? Or C800.
There's a different level of sort of like air and harmonic information you get out of those.
And to be
mics.
honest, the C800 and Telefunken are a lot closer to each other than an 87 or a 67 to a Telefunken, right?
Yeah.
So it's like it's not make or break. At the end of the day, it's like, and you got to think about it. All of Chris's songs are different. It's not like the Migos where every song is a hip hop song. Chris might do a pop song one day. He might do a rap song the next day. R&B, slow as shit, D'Angelo song the third day, and they might all end up on the album. He's such like his artistry is so multifaceted. You know what I mean? And we're not even talking about the dancing, the performing. You know what I'm saying? Like that shit we haven't even touched on. And he is one of I mean, I've been to concerts. I've been around a lot of artists. There's not really performers like Chris Brown that exists. I mean, like, put him up to any singer, he'll literally do double backflips in front of them in 2 seconds.
Crazy.
And that's just the way he is.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, it's interesting. Yeah, I feel like a 251 is a great mic to give you a lot of options for different genres, because you can definitely get dance records, pop records, R&B records, hip hop.
Yeah.
And 251 will cover that really nicely.
Yeah, it covers it great, to be honest. And when people come over and do features like all the time, like we might have Yachty, you know what I'm saying, come over and just chill and shit and record. They're not tripping, to be honest. Yachty probably sound way better on a 251 than whatever he might be recording in his house or whatever. So at the end of the day, these records might be their best records for the people that come to record with Chris, because normal artists don't pull out the 251 like a random. They might just record on a 87, a fucking AKG 414, whatever's there is good enough.
It's something to tell people who are sort of coming up, like getting your vocal chain and the headphones set up and the monitoring right when an artist comes in, when artists are coming in and out of all kinds of different houses and studios and sessions. If you have the fire vocal chain and they get on the headphones and they go, oh, I sound amazing. Yep. That's what you're after 100% of the time. So if you can come in with the great vocal setup and the great monitoring, you're actually ahead of the game, ahead of a lot of people, because that's what makes an artist feel excited to be at their best, is setting 100%. That up.
If they don't sound right, they're not feeling it. And I'm going to tell you right now, when I get the vocal chain set up, I go in the booth myself. I play the song because every song is different. Like every beat, everything is. So once I have it set up, I gain structure it. Everything is about gain structure. You don't just drop the song and start recording. You have to level it correctly so that when the artist is at unity, that's what I try to go, is the beat should be in a place where if the artist is singing at unity, we're good.
When you say unity, you mean, what do you mean?
Unity meaning like I'm not boosting Chris's record track up 3 dBs to reach being louder. You know what I'm saying? I level.
It basically should be mixed. It should be mixed in their ears.
Yeah, exactly. Or as close as possible. Then once I do that, I'll go in the booth and I'll listen to myself. I'll watch the compressor and I'll almost get the levels, because I'll just go in there because Chris's voice is very loud. He can push a lot of air. So I'll just go in there and scream on the mic and make sure that I'm not clipping or over loud, and then that'll be good. From there, it'll just be a little bit of gain tweaking when we're low, when we're high, and that's it. But I always check the headphone mix myself with the auto-tune on. I can hold a note in auto-tune. I'm going to tell you right now.
You can hold that screaming out to. That is actually like I think people who don't do this a lot don't realize how good of a technique this is. But actually going and saying something super loud and yelling on the mic is a good way to know how loud it's going to be, because big singers, they are projecting a whole lot of volume. They're moving a lot of air. So when you get on and check your mic, you get in there and scream that shit, and that's going to be your peak. That's really interesting. I do that.
And
I do
another
the same
thing,
shit.
just testing the mic, I get out of breath. So I don't know how people sit in the booth for 3 hours and sing songs and shit, because in 10 minutes, I'm fucking out of breath. Like, it takes a lot of energy to sing, and people don't really know until you're in that bitch.
Well, it's because you're not doing dance moves and doing a 2-hour set. You're fucking smoking cigars and playing bocce ball. You're not supposed to be doing that.
Yeah.
That's fantastic, man. Well, we got about like 15 minutes left. Maybe we can run. There's a couple of questions. I feel like there's one other. Oh, I'm curious. Can you go through even though you said it's very simple and it sounds like it's very similar to mine, can you go through the mixing template for the vocal, or just like what are your go-tos on the mix side for the vocals? Because you're mostly doing mixing now.
Yeah, mostly mixing other than just cutting Chris. But a lot of the stuff, obviously, I always start with the Pro Q3. The Pro Q3, I get in there and I start figuring out what frequencies are in there that I don't want. Yeah. And the Pro Q makes it so easy because you instantly have the analyzer and you're seeing, okay, there's a Pro giant Q3 fucking resonant frequency right here popping up. Let me just go ahead and get that. So my first Pro Q is just cuts in different places. And then that kind of evens the vocal out. And then I'm like, okay, now I can start to add, right? So I start to add the top end. Oh, okay, now it's a little bright. Let me bring a little bit of the lows back. Okay, I'm balancing it out. Then I get to compression. You do that all with Pro Q3? Well, the takedown. The high end I start to add, I put pull tech on there. Yeah. Pull tech, anything that's got like one of those 10K bands, 12K bands. And I add that air on top of the vocal. Then I start to do the compression. I'll do like an 1176. The silver face is one of my favorites. So that'll kind of just squeeze the vocal and get it to a place. What I notice is that when you do that, you start to add a little more warmth to the vocal as you start to compress and you start to put it through, certain things. So what I'll do is I'll have soothe next, and then I'll have another EQ, usually the neutron. And that neutron will start to attack those frequencies that have been boosted through compression, through certain things that have happened after my EQ. Yeah. So I'll dial those back. DS, compress. And I love the C2 is a great ending compressor for things because it's really tight, it's really smooth, you don't really hear it, and it's like it holds everything in place. That's kind of roughly the chain, and that's how I work with most people. I always start with that. I take out what I don't want, then I add what I want, then I can it's just general things that I'm doing to everyone's vocal that always get me to a similar place. You know what I'm saying? That's great. Yeah. And somebody put the info there on the chat. It'll also be up on the show notes, LiveWithMattRad.com. And within an hour or two, it sounds like Bradley said he's moving quickly on these. Can you talk a little bit? Somebody asked, who is it that asked here? Kurt was asking the transition from tracking engineer to mixing engineer. It seems like that's a path that you've taken, that Baines has taken, that a lot of other people have taken. I don't know if you can just kind of speak on it. I mean, I guess I have some specific questions on it, but a lot of people are starting out in the studio as a tracking engineer, and a lot of that you're mixing as you go. You're talking about your template. You need to get the sound right in the headphones. That's the beginning of the mixing process. Yeah. Do you just get to the point where you're mixing on the side as well, and then you get a shot at it? Like, what is that transition like? Yeah, I mean, you should always be, all through your recording career, no matter where you're at, you should always be on the side mixing. Even if you're just doing bullshit for your homies, you should always be with the intent of practicing. You know what I'm saying? As you're recording, putting in reps, you're doing it on the side. Because to be honest, a lot of the best mixers come from being engineers, recording engineers at first, because it teaches you so much about what you need to do that when you get to mixing and you don't have that pressure on you, it's like this. When you're recording, you're training with all the weights on your body and you're running, but then when you're mixing, you take those weights off and now you can run faster. Now you can do this, that. So the recording process is like boot camp. Once you get to the fucking mixing, I'm boom, boom, brr, da, 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 on the computer, because that's all my brain knows for Pro Tools. you know, and that's what allows me to do everything I need to do in here. Vocal edits, timing, all that shit is part of mixing as well. And if you don't know how to, if you're sitting there like highlighting a region, and then you go down here and you nudge, 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 and then you press play, and then you nudge, 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 like you're there for fucking 10 years. I grab it, slightly move it, press play. Grab it, slightly move it, press play. It's that comes from recording. Because you're not going to be in a session, tap, tap, tap. The guy's going to hit you over the fucking head with a fucking shoe.
What do you think about this? I feel like, and you said it when you were talking about checking vocal set, like before the artist comes in, you're making sure the headphones sound right, that like everything is dialed in. It seems like people who don't have the opportunity to get in with a lot of artists if they're learning should just be recording their own vocals all the time. Like anything you can do to just record and edit and record and edit and record and edit, that seems like the foundation.
It is. I'm going to tell you right now, I actually came up with a method to be able to strengthen your speed of recording, and you can do it by yourself. You just take a song in your recording template and a song that has vocals in it, and you literally, one bar before the beginning, you punch, you hear the line in the song, you stop, you hit record again, you pretend like they're singing it, and you're dragging it up. You're doing the stacks. There's nothing there, but you're doing it.
Oh, interesting.
Does that make sense? I'll have to show how it works, but
you definitely should.
It's a way to do it without having to have anyone in the room, and you're stacking, dragging. By the time you do, like at first, you're going to be slow as shit. Shit's going to be moving. It's the punch, record, and then you hold control. When you're dragging it down, it won't move left and right, and that motion of doing it all without thinking, fast. You know what I'm saying? Like
it's been a funny thing about jumping into other DAWs, because I'm still in Pro Tools and use Pro Tools all the time, and now I use Ableton for making beats and for writing. And now Ableton has lanes, and it's not nearly as good as Pro Tools in terms of the editing capabilities. But it is crazy. When I first jumped into Ableton, I had to like stop and think, because I had all these Pro Tools key commands in my brain, like just breathing, like I wasn't thinking about what I was doing with the nudging and the pulling things up and down. And so I had to kind of like unlearn the Pro Tools in order to relearn some of the Ableton stuff. But I didn't even realize after doing it for years how important that is. Like you got to get the reps in. If you're going to be tracking in Pro Tools, just over and over and over, just do it every day. Just record nonsense. Like it doesn't matter what it is. Just get the reps in. And then when you get into,
honest, the one thing that fucks all sessions up when recording is you punch, they record, and then they want to hear the take, right? Or they want to, let's say they want to go to the next line or something like that. You'll stop, you'll click, you'll play again. That sometimes can take time, right? So what I do is I leave the cursor here. They record. When they get to the end, I hit stop record, boom. Stop record, boom. It's like there's no, sometimes before the artist can be like one more time, they're already recording it already. I'm like, come on, I'm going.
So that level of training, and because you're fast with Pro Tools, you learn all of your key commands, you learn your flow, and you can take that plus the sonic stuff into mixing. So were you mixing other things on the side, or obviously you're mixing as you go, you're mixing vocals, but were you mixing other records? Like how did you become the mixing engineer as well?
So basically I was always mixing little things on the side, but they meant nothing. And to me, they were just practice. They were just going outside and shooting on the hoop in your drive.
Which by the way, you got to do it.
You have to do. You have to do. To this point, to this day, sometimes if I'm like bored, let's say like I'm just in a lull for that day, for example, which usually is not the case, I'll take on a mix that I don't necessarily want to do just because I need something to do. My brain needs to do it. You know what I mean? But
you got to stay in it for sure. I'm all about that.
Like right now, if you were to ask me stuff about Pro Tools, just close my eyes and I'm in the session and I can go to this menu, because I've been doing it for 12, 13 years now, full time. Yeah. And of course, in the beginning you suck, but in the beginning you suck at everything.
True.
You know what I mean? Anything worthwhile doing, you're going to suck in the beginning. It's just what
somebody was asking, who asked this question? Baluki was asking about this new thing, which you know more than me, and you and Bane. So I just saw in the chat there, you guys did this with the Slime and B stuff, where there's like, you guys are basically having multiple mixing engineers involved at once, or tracking engineers and mixing engineers. The lines are blurred in the roles. There's lots of, I heard about it first from talking to John with the Khalid stuff, because Khalid's vocal engineer, and John were technically co-mixing those records. So yeah, Dennis, exactly, who I've not met, who I hear great things about.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked with him for years, and I'm gonna tell you right now, Dennis is a top-notch guy.
Right.
When I was at Record Plant, he would be my assistant, and the guy was top-notch with everything. So I'm happy that he's grown to the place he's gotten, because it's an amazing opportunity for him. And he's done so much stuff since. Shit.
Yeah, absolutely. He's out there killing it. He's doing the Zane stuff with John too. I mean, he's really out there doing a lot of stuff.
Exactly.
So with someone like that, or your role, or you and Baines together, this idea of co-mixing a record seems like a fairly new phenomenon. Is that just come from like, you've got, so like for Slime and B, for example, and I don't know what the credits were on Slime and B. Were you guys have mixing credits together for some
both
stuff?
Together on everything. It was just co-mix on everything. Because, I mean, it really was. At the end of the day, it was like, even if I might have a note, yo, Doug sounds a little bit, can you check? And he might be like, Chris sounds a little bit, it's a full thing. And the most important thing is that you do this without any sort of ego or pride. That's the most important thing. If Bane calls me right now, I was like, bro, your 808's too low. I'm not going to be like, oh, Bane's is tripping. I'm going to be like, oh, shit, I need to turn my 808 up. Thanks, bro. You know what I mean? Because we look at now, if Baines tells me the mix sounds fire and it's not, that's a problem. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you have to have that trust and honesty with who you're working with, and zero ego. Not, if just everyone needs to be on the same page. And some engineers can't do that. Some engineers can. I'm a team worker. Yeah. If you think we should go this way, I trust you just as much as you trust me. Maybe I'm going to think I'm tripping before I think you're tripping. And that right there kind of sums it up. I'm going to question myself before I question you.
That's a really beautiful way to put it. And I think we are increasingly in an era where so many people can and are able to make records and are doing it at a high level in their rooms, in their basements, in professional studios, wherever. And it doesn't do you nearly as much. I don't know if it was good in the past, but it doesn't do you any good to be hyper competitive and full of ego about a lot of the stuff.
Nope.
And maybe some of the artists can have that, but we as people who are out there collaborating and working with each other, I find more and more the people that are the most successful have the least ego. It's funny, I get the question a lot, and you probably had this too. People are like, oh, who's the biggest diva? Who's the biggest diva? And there have been some diva moments of artists I've worked with and things like that, but very few. It tends to be that the people are the best. They just want to make the best shit all the time. And if you're at that level, that's, they're ready to go.
I've worked with a lot of divas in my life. People that are like, and Chris is not one of them. Yeah. So, and that says a lot, because, you know what I'm saying? Who's a diva above, you know what I mean? Like,
and so, you just can't make hundreds and hundreds of records if people are a pain in the ass. Like,
oh my God, please, you can't. Because no one's going to want to work with you. Like, it's at the end of the day. But back to the thing is, a lot of the engineers back in the day, I feel like had more beef. You know what I mean? Now it's like all of us are friends. L10, fucking Ali, me and him speak on a weekly basis sometimes. Like, all of us are homies. He's mixing fucking Kendrick. Awesome, bro. I'm mixing. Baines is mixing Doug. Awesome. We're all clapping each other up. Everyone's happy. No one's like, oh, this dude stole my mix. No, if they decided to go with someone else, which that's happened, we're still cool. It's not like I went, you know what I'm saying? Unless I went in and was like, fuck that dude. That's
you're not story. You're not hiring yourself. Somebody else is hiring
you. But if they're going to you and you're taking the mix from someone else, which has happened, and that person is your friend, big deal. We're still friends. Yeah. You know what I mean? No one's hating on each other. They just wanted to go with someone else. Is that the right decision? I don't know. They might not like my mix either.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, you have to have no ego and not care, unless people are doing you wrong. But this industry is not one to be doing people wrong. It's too small. It's too small.
Yep. And there's too many talented people. There's too many talented people for you to be a diva about shit. You got to be kind. You got to be patient. You got to remove your ego and just do great work and put in the reps, like we talked about.
You have to put in the reps, or else, and that's part of not having ego. A person who does the reps clearly doesn't have the ego, because they're valuing that over their time, which they need to. When I was sleeping in studios and shit, I was giving all my time to music, no time to anything else. That's it, because that's what you have to do. If you're not willing to do that, you'll be 30, 40 years old by the time you get on. You know what I mean? You have to give everything to it. I gave everything to music. To this day, someone calls me and they're like, I need you to send this file. I'll be anxious to get home and send it, even though there's no
Me
rush,
too.
because I need to do my job. I need to show that I'm the fastest person. I'm going to get them all the files when they need them, all correct. You know what I mean?
Yeah, my anxiety has made me a much better record maker, because I'm just like, oh shit, they need something from me. Oh, they're asking me for a thing.
Bro, I would call it a light PTSD from all the shit that I've dealt with, and that's caused my brain to just always, work is most important. Work is most important. Like, it has to get done. Because at the end of the day, my mixes with Chris Brown are what gets me the work after. You got to think about it. People come to me after a Chris Brown album drops. They hear, oh, we want to sound like that. Cool. When any album drops, fucking Slime and Language Shoe drops. All these artists want Baines to mix their album now.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So these works that we do are our biggest accomplishment, because it's what gets us the work.
And you have to do whatever it takes to get it there, or somebody's going to, and it might as well be you. Like, that's why you'll do 25 mix revisions, because when that comes out and the song is a hit, people call you for the next decade.
And if you had given up, they would have gone to someone else, and guess what? That song would have still come out, and it would have been mixed the way they wanted it to.
Yep.
And you're not a part of it anymore.
Well, Teezio, it's been a pleasure having you on here. And when you get the full studio, the new studio up, we'll have to come by. We'll play some bocce. We'll do a live from over there. Everybody you tune in for the first time, this stuff is on my IGTV. It's on the YouTube tomorrow. We have the audio version. We'll have show notes on LiveWithMattRad.com. We have the full thing on the Discord. I'll be on the Discord after. Are you a Discord person at all? Have you been on there?
I'm not, but shit, if you want to show me the ropes, I've gone to Clubhouse.
Oh yeah, there you go. Well, we got a little bit of that functionality too. But I'll put you onto that as well. Thank you guys for checking it out.
Thank you,
Peace,
brother.
guys.
Peace.